Hi, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you for coming back to our water cooler chat. I can appreciate so many people who do not have their cameras on because my guess is you're enjoying your lunch. And usually it's only when I'm talking to my sister or a client that I've worked with for a couple of years that I'll eat lunch with a camera on. So I get it. However, we would love for you to keep popping up with questions in the chat. Unmute and stop us. Say my name, Greg's name, Ruthie's name, to if you have questions or comments. And also include your own ideas, right? So we just want to go over like a couple of ideas that we have, but we can as a group build a nice collection of ideas for year-end last minute captures. And since today is December 13, we have 18 days left, right? Knock on wood, we'll bring in some more money, right? Okay. So I put up a couple of slides for annual giving. If you work in annual giving, let us know. The first thing is who's missing, right? Who's missing from the invite list, right? We invite you to, in the 80s, we used to do that. We used to pretend that we were patronizing them and telling them that they were so graciously invited to make a gift to us. And it failed. By the 90s, it failed, right? So, but prospects who haven't given to us yet this year, but they gave to us around this time last year, especially near the end, November, December. We want to like write them a note or find a way to solicit them again to say, hey, you know, did you skip our note? You know, because especially with like the mail and email and lecture and even communications, it's like click, 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 you know, all that stuff could be missing. Somebody who's gave twice last year and has given once only so far this year, we probably want to give twice. We just didn't pay enough attention to them. Now, remember that in the world where we're constantly being told that we're a stranger, excuse me, especially now, it's like, what's your name? What's your password? What's your date of birth? What's your social security number? What's your checking account number, right? That's the only people who pay any attention to us really, really are hackers, right? So it's just frustrating. If somebody's gave once and then they just weren't asked again, even though they normally give twice, they're going to say they don't want it. And they're going to expect that you're thinking about them and them only, even though, excuse me, my coach is all excited about the video I sent her yesterday about my workout, sorry. Even though we have, you know, 1 million prospects or 100,000 prospects, they still want personal attention. But that's what we have machines for, okay? Prospects who gave 3 out of or more years out of the last 5 but haven't yet given this year, they just haven't been asked, or they haven't been asked at the right time, or they haven't been asked the right way, or they haven't been asked for the 3rd time, which would make them send the gift in. Make sense? Are you all doing this, or are you in that department? Oh, Tina came back with her Barney picture.
We do this with our annual giving staff.
Okay. That's great. Thanks, Kelly.
Uh-huh.
The other thing is like if you solicit me by text and I don't respond, you got to solicit me a different way. And we tend to go by expense for us, right? When we do annual fund, what's the cheapest? It used to be email. What is it now? I don't know. Direct mail used to actually be the cheapest version of solicitation. Now direct mail is thought of as expensive. So, but the thing is, if I didn't give to you, then you escalate. And if I don't give to you, then you escalate. Well, what if you just change the method? So what if you send me direct mail because you're expecting me to give by direct mail, but I don't? Are you going to text me? And are you going to text me even though I already did give? Because that's annoying, right? Or a very new solicitation method. And I put that slide up this morning and I thought, yeah, we're not going to tell people that in the next day and a half, they have to set up text to give, right? But what about asking a volunteer to mop up solicitation for $100 to $1,000 donors? Right now, I'm on assignment for my local habitat to make phone calls to thank people for increasing their gift this year. It's stewardship for next year, right? And yeah, and so that's where you get the work, all right? And then your last minute sweep. Time is running out for your tax deductions, right? You can make your gift right now, right? We have to do the urgency thing. If you think if you think we're annoying, try being in politics. I don't know how many different phone numbers the Democrats have, but I have blocked 300 of them. and they all want, you know, me to give now because somebody's being mean to somebody, right? Our message is much greater. You know, hey, you know, we'd love to see our name on your tax return, you know? Questions or comments? Because that's our annual giving section. You guys.
If you don't ever want to be alone, put your name on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Greg, you're warbling again. Can you figure out what the deal is with your microphone? Do you have a headset? Whenever Greg talks, he says something pithy off the cuff, and then, you know, it takes me 3 years to parse it all out and implement it.
So is this better?
Yes. Yeah, sorry
Okay.
about that.
It looks like my microphone might be right. Yeah, finally after all these years. I was going to say, if you don't want to be alone, put your name on a political mailing list.
Oh, yes.
You'll never be left alone. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. If you want to hear from people, and it doesn't matter like which party, you know what I mean? Okay. And are you guys receiving urgent? You know, it's almost the end of the year. How would you like to chip a little in by the end of the year? I got a nod. Susan's thinking about it, and nobody else has their camera on. Oh, Olivia is also thinking about it. Amy has a cat. Yay! Okay. Are you getting those solicitations? Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. I have to tell you, my favorite solicitation this year was my local theater where we go see Broadway in Syracuse. You know, they hop the train and come out to Syracuse and do the whatever Broadway show is on right now. And in the women's restroom, which of course is from the 1920s and is too small for the number of women who have 10 minutes to use it, there's a 10,000 flushes campaign. For $25, you can buy a flush. And it takes so many flushes to buy a toilet and, you know, refurbish the bathroom and blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, I gave him $25. But can you imagine 10,000 flushes campaign? The Women's March also had, can you help us support the porta potties? Gotta love it. Because it was something tangible. I mean, you know, it's not glamorous. It's not the kind of glamorous stuff that, you know, we'd want your name on the top of the list of the statue of the whatever, but it was something that was practical and that is going to benefit me. When they refurbish those restrooms, let me tell you, it's going to be easier for me to be in intermission and get a drink, which will benefit them in return. So I love that.
There's also
Go ahead.
an anecdote about how we did a like crowdfunded wedding gifts, but and one of the things that we were fundraising for was the marital bed frame, and I should have inflated the price of that thing because it sold out like far faster than any other like household item, you know, we were asking for funds for.
People wanted to wish you guys well.
Yeah, it's the sense of humor. So even if there's no tangible benefit, it's the tangible humor. I mean, that also goes in line with the toilets, I think.
Yeah, you found a way to make the gift opportunity luscious because they got to imagine how they contributed to the success of your marriage. That's nice. I like that. Yeah, that is so subtle, but also like really like out there. I like that. Okay. Does anybody have a favorite last minute solicitation this year? I got the letter yesterday in the mail. Thank you so much. By the way, if you want to give more, here's a QR code, right?
I just love that more people are using the QR codes finally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've been around for a long time, and it just seems like, you know, I don't always want to say thanks to COVID, but thanks to recent events. Yeah, the QR codes and crypto. Yeah, QR codes are like all the rage. Yeah, which is great. Yeah, because it captures a younger audience.
Wouldn't it be fun if we like set up a perfect place to take a selfie, and to the left of the selfie people, the police is the QR code to make a donation? Okay, we don't manipulate people anymore, do we? Okay, so So major gifts. Ruthie also offered to share some ideas here. Excuse me. I'm getting all the colds early, so I'm getting over this one. The people are just getting now. Oh, sorry, this is a borrowed slide, so there's no section 4 for you. But the just-in-time prospecting concept, right, is you can add a prospect to a gift officer's pool. You could even add a prospect to a gift officer's pool who's a good catch, right, for right now. Oh, there's some stories. Do you mind? Let me stop and read some of these stories. Let's see. Someone gave a wrong phone number to somebody, so now Arizona is soliciting Ruthie.
I was getting hammered with things from Arizona.
We did need Stephanie.
I was
vote,
too,
so it was a really close election.
Yeah. Only Stephanie knew her own phone number.
Oh, yeah. The Liberals want Greg to give, even though he's not in England anymore. You're in solicitor to my husband, who's never been involved in the organization. Oh, Emily, I got to tell you the story. We have plenty of time. We don't have a lot of slides. I got to tell you the story. Client of mine, when I was with DataTel, we're implementing software, and she's telling me the story. She says, okay, so I gave to this organization. They wrote back the next year, Dear Enid Wainwright, right? And so she gave. And so they wrote back the following year, Dear Enid Wainwright, and her husband's name. She's like, I didn't give you that, but okay. So she gave him a gift. Then they said, Dear Dr. and Mrs. his name. And then she stopped giving. So there you go, Emily. It's like, really, they subsumed her. So yeah, Emily, the New York Public Library writes me notes that say Dear Null. They finally figured out to write Dear Marianne, but they didn't have a way to put the company contact person's name. So they would say Dear Null. I'm like, okay, that's what you want for a gift. So when we think about just-in-time prospecting, one of the things about just-in-time prospecting is he's sitting there thinking of his legacy and he's thinking of his taxes, and you just want to call him and ask him, well, how does he feel right now? Not is he going to die and give you a planned gift, but how does he feel about making a last-minute gift? You can do the paperwork. Yeah, you can. You can get it done. We've had client whose fiscal year was year-end December, and we had 3 days to get a proposal to them, and we had to negotiate it for a day or two, and then we got it signed. But if that's where the client is, that's where we go, right? And then even in major gifts, there are repeatable pledges. Remember that $100,000 gift can actually be a tester token gift for somebody who's a multi-billionaire, right? So how you do the stewardship, then they decide how they feel about it. So what is repeatable, right? And this is the deferrals, and I think my next slide talks about deferrals. Nope. Then you people who are not giving to capacity. So is it the gift officer chickened out? Is it the prospect was making a testing gift? Is the prospect was thinking about their legacy? Is it the prospect thought that this particular campaign was really worth only $1 million gift? Whatever the reason, you want to go and you want to suggest just calling them back. Hey, the end of the year is coming up. I know you're thinking about your philanthropy for the end of the year. I was thinking, wouldn't you like to endow this new bathroom, right? And that comes back to the people who defer. Now, gift officers, my work with gift officers, gift officers I've worked with, and I could be jaded. A lot of the gift officers I work with are externally validated, right? You have to be in order to have the ego to call somebody up and try to make a conquest, frankly. Okay, unless what you care about, you're most passionate about, is the cause itself. So if you hear Tim Wilson's, or if you watch Tim Wilson's interview of Ruthie Giles, you'll see one of the things she says is I'm an extreme introvert, and then I do presentations, right? It's the passion about the subject that makes her ramp up, do the presentation, and then go hide in a hole for a while, or whatever she does for soothing. Okay, so, but the question is, so a gift officer here who hears a deferral can sometimes hear it as a no and walk away. Or any slight negative thing, hear it as a no and walk away, right? And you've been in this situation where somebody walks up to you. One of my favorites was, I'm on a plane. The kid who's sitting up in the front seat, they told him he had to put his bag under a seat or they had to check the bag. The guy's like, no, I'm not checking this bag. So he starts walking down the plane asking each of us, can I put my bag under your seat? And I looked up at him and I said, no. And without even saying, okay, thank you, he just looked up and walked away. I remember what that kid looks like. If he asked me for the time next year, I'd be like, no. So deferrals is something to think about. You know, if they deferred, what were they deferring to? Okay. So that's the end of my part of the presentation. What are you all doing for this time of year?
Marianne, if I could, I'd kind of like to expand a little bit about, no and what it means in fundraising, and that, sometimes a no is a qualified no. The story I always give is that one of my gift officer, development officer friends at my first job, asked the prospect for a gift, and instead of just saying no, the prospect went on this rant about how his wife hadn't gotten the degree that she would deserve because she was like one class off of graduating, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And my friend could have taken that as a kind of a crank who was upset about something, but when he thought this guy, Greg said he was wealthy, and he spent 30 minutes ranting to me on the phone. He's an attorney. Time is money to this guy. He spent 30 minutes ranting to me about this. This is really important to him. Long story short, 5 years later, that person was a trustee on the university. It had given multiple $1 million to the university. So, that could have easily been a case where my friend just walked away from, the gift. And instead, he said, wow, this person, he's an attorney, he's been billing me $200, $300 for this conversation. This must be really important to him. But I think sometimes that's, and even in an end of year thing, if you call someone and time is precious at the end of the year for everybody. Everybody's, planning for the holidays, getting their end of year tax stuff ready. So if you get something like that at the end of the year, that this, this is an important thing. Someone I know once said that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifferent. Yep. And so if you get that indifferent though, like, I just don't really, not really interested. Sorry. That's a definite no, but well, listen to why I'm not giving you this gift. That's a more important no.
I agree with you. The opposite story I have for that is when I went to take my car into my local Nissan dealer for warranty work. There was what is that thing? Recall, right? They did the work and I said, yeah, but the hood banged up before I got it in there. And I said, are you going to fix the side panels? And they said, well, we'll call Nissan. The guy called back, told me to call him instead of leaving me a message. I called him back. I couldn't reach him. I get wait a minute. Okay, he's not at his desk, which meant he was saying, don't let her talk to me. I'm afraid of her. And then all of a sudden I started getting, so I wrote a note to the Nissan company itself. Like, what's the deal with this? All of a sudden I started getting calls every 3 months from a salesman, different salesman every time, same shop. And I would blow up at them every time. And instead of writing a note, tell the service department to call her, or they did, and the service department still didn't do it, I would get a call 3 months later and I'd blow up at the guy even more. So this entire dealership owns literally all the dealerships in town, all of them. There are none that don't belong to them. And I will drive 45 minutes to go buy my next car to another town. And that's too bad, right? So if you have one situation where, a young annual fund person gets a phone call, well, I need your help to fill out this matching gift form. And the annual fund person is going, well, I don't have time for this, and says something to get them off the phone, which happens to us a lot, right? In the retail sphere, because they don't. You're going to lose a prospect for life. So Kelly's got gift officers calling their Libus and Cybunts. That's exactly what I mean. If they haven't given in a while, just get them on. Hey, what do I have to do to get your gift? Right? Yeah. That was good instinct, Greg, to hear what that lawyer was saying, not what was coming out of his mouth. And that's hard for us, don't you think?
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, one of the things I've learned about kind of really good gift officers and gift officers that are kind of doing their job are insights like, that they can pick up during a conversation while they're being yelled at. Hey, this guy is really passionate about our organization.
Yes.
Yes, I'm getting the blunt end of all of this, but if we can make this right for this person, he's going to be just as passionate on our side. And like I say, I mean, the really good gift officers I've known in my career are people who can kind of screen out that fact that they're the ones getting,
right. It's not personal.
And realize, this person is so passionate about our organization.
Yes. My alma mater finally got somebody into their shop who could hear me. Yep. Yeah, because they're Midwestern and I'm from Massachusetts and I'm pretty direct. And I'm hard on Midwestern people. So, yeah. Ruthie, what are you doing in your shop for the end of the year stuff?
In my current shop, we're doing similar to what Kelly's doing, the Libunt, Cybunt, sending mailings, certain segments and emails to others. And I think the younger folks are getting texts, those who we actually have viable mobile numbers for. So we do some outreach through texting. I think that includes a link or a QR code back so they can give right from their phone if they want to. I can't remember because I'm not involved in sending the text, but we do those things. And then the things I've done in other shops, I'll look through someone's major gift portfolio and I'll say, you know what, this person always makes their major gift in the fall. They haven't done that yet. Not their major gift, their annual gift in the fall, and they haven't done that yet. So I give them a short list of people to call and say, here's exactly who you should call. And being that I usually work on the prospect research management side of the house, I'll give them a couple of talking points. Like, by the way, they're really into basketball. So we think that, because they live in this state, this is probably their favorite team. So if you need something to talk about, always fall back on basketball or whatever it may be. Like maybe we know they have an interest in art. There's a really good art exhibit coming up that they might want to check out, things like that. So trying to talk to them, not necessarily always about us. It doesn't always have to be about us. Sometimes it has to be about them, but giving them just enough talking points so they can talk a little bit about us, sort of about them too. And then that makes them feel like, A, we know them. B, we're not going to barrage them with, all about us. Let me give you our highlights and our every little point about what's going on in our organization. And it gives them the opportunity to talk about themselves, which then the gift officer can learn more about them. Mm-hmm. If I say, oh, you're in Boston, so your favorite team's the Celtics, and someone might say, no, my favorite team isn't the Celtics. I come from some other state, and that sports ball team is my favorite team.
Yep.
Then you start talking about, I'm not a sports person. Mm-hmm. But so I try to give them opportunities to create conversation that could then lead to learning more about them. Because if we know that they have season tickets for something like, a big fancy football team thing that's, really hard to get, that tells you. So I try to position them for conversational pieces.
That's great. Years ago, I got a letter that told me, because you're a graduate of our college, you understand the importance of physical education and sports. So we'd like you to give to the soccer team. I stopped giving for 5 years. So
yeah, that'll do.
When I walked around campus going, I'm going to get myself a jacket. It's going to say Rockford College English majors. I was that infuriated by the whole sports ball culture. So, Ruthie, this question for you in chat. I think you and I can talk about it though. In my new current role, 4 months ago, it seems like we only do direct mail for higher level giving acquisitions and annual fund. We're introducing text to give. How do you other select segment solicitation method among donors?
So how we're doing it, we're using, we use some of the basic stuff. Have they given before? What is their lifetime giving? Older alums, I'm thinking like, and this is no offense to anyone on the thing, but like boomers, we might not text them as immediately as we would say a millennial level person, simply because we assume they actually have a telephone and will answer it, whereas someone who's more of a millennial aged person is more apt to answer a text. So we're trying to meet them at their level. So looking at their age, looking at their lifetime giving, looking at the amount of their last gift. And then we also have RFM scoring, recency, frequency, monetary scoring, that we're using to help sort of prioritize. So even if they've only been engaged coming to events and stuff,
Right.
like we still have ways of, looking at stuff saying, well, because when folks come to events for us, part of the ticket price is considered donation. So even though they didn't physically mail in a check for $25, $5 of the $10 they paid to something counts as donation. So we can see that too. And we use the scoring to help us sort of prioritize who to do things to. The higher pricing items, direct mailings, bigger packages of mailings, go to the people who are, the folks who've been most near and dear to us, whereas the emails and the texts are going to go to folks who are the more occasional givers or the just getting started givers. Maybe we've gotten just one gift of $25. We're like, okay, great. Now you're on our list. See, Marianne's going for her RFM stuff. That's good.
We should show it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we should show it. So sorry, this is a PDF. So RFM is a marketing technique. How recently have they given? How many times have they made a gift or pledge payment? And what is their life-giving value? But there's one I wanted to, sorry. Pivoting based on donor behavior is one thing I wanted to talk about. Greg started offering a service for segmentation. What kind of audience should get different versions of segmentation? So you can, of course, you can use machine learning to get at this answer. Ruthie is starting with an assumption, but I was actually looking for a marketing Sherpa. Sorry, just give me a second. Okay. Marketing Sherpa actually did a study on, I beg your pardon, a study on which generations prefer to get campaigns which way. And I thought I was catching that, but I wasn't. Sorry. So I won't find that right now. I'm gonna. But Olivia, does that help? Okay. I'm gonna look one more time. Ruthie, what else are you guys doing right now? You're just trying to catch last minute?
Yeah, mostly we're trying to catch last minute donors for our annual fund at this point.
Okay.
The shop I'm working in is, it's had its challenges in the past as far as how they're doing fundraising. So we're not quite as sophisticated as a Harvard or a big fancy hospital might be with what we're doing and how we're doing it. And the staff is very small. We have one person doing the entire annual fund. So, but she's a dynamo, love her. But it's a lot of work for one person to figure out how to segment. So using the RFM scoring, which we put in place, has been helpful to her, but there are other and probably better and more sophisticated ways to slice and dice the pie to figure out who are the right groups to target, how to target them, when to target them, but we're just not there quite yet. And I have to build some of those pieces in the background for her so that she can then use them. So rather than trying to do it the hard way, I want to have her do it the easy way. And we're just not quite there yet.
I think I
But-
have this chart. I'm gonna go to the source.
There you go.
Oops. Nope. Excuse me. This is marketingsherpa.com where I get a lot of ideas. Huh. Here we go. So this is He's like, you're really not gonna let me pop out this? Okay. I'm trying to get this big enough. All right, we're going to use a couple tricks to get this big enough, but this comes back to that question. We'll start with some assumptions and then we'll test the results. Excuse me, I'm going to have a coughing fit. Excuse me. So this comes back to what you were just saying, Ruthie, the assumptions that you made. So 55 to 64, 35 to 44 prefer email, right? And then the 65 plus prefer postal mail, which goes right along with the assumptions that you made. Could I put the link in the chat? Of course I could. And then here's text messaging. Yeah, this is, and I must have written a blog post about it. Where is it? There. I must have written a blog post about it. I know that I've talked about this slide a couple of times. So here it is in the chat. And that will support your assumptions of how you'd like to work on your campaigns, right? Yeah. So what are all the rest of you doing?
Anyone still doing phonathons?
All right, so right about here, while you guys are thinking, go ahead, Greg. Okay. Greg's like, no.
I was gonna say the only thing I could think of when I was thinking about you writing this morning when you know we were brainstorming about this is simply and actually the graph you just showed kind of pointed this out is that although yes you can look at that graph and say, hey, our younger donors are still, you know, they're interested in getting things through email or phone apps or, you know, or the internet. We still have to keep in mind that our older donors, and by saying that, I also mean the donors are more likely to give at a high level, are still more interested in the old-fashioned ways of print, telephone calls, you know, other ways of giving. In fact, one of the places I used to work had closed between Christmas and New Year, but we made sure we had somebody who could take the gift, was on site the whole, during the whole time, some at least one person. And we would get gifts. I mean, I remember I was sitting there once thinking, it was a quiet day. I thought, no, I wasn't going to call. Someone called in wanting to make a $5,000 gift because he said, oh, I went on, this was an older woman. She's like, I went on to the internet. And I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I figured I'd call you. And if we hadn't thought ahead and thought, somebody might be trying to call us during this time, we would have lost that gift. And we might have lost that number. So I would say, even at the end of the year, and thinking, this is still time consuming to have something expensive, I guess, that somebody fielding calls at that time of year. There are still people who want to call it their gifts rather than just put it on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some shops that close down between Christmas and New Year's, and of those shops, the gift processors always have to come in. Yep. Yeah, we have a comment here. I like it, from Emily. I'm siloed on the research side, so I can't say what the solicitation strategies look like. However, in research, Emily's pulling data and screening donors to her designated areas and units from previous years around this time to see if they've given this year and what their capacity is. So did they get richer or poor, right? Anyone with a major gift at capacity or has given a relatively large amount that hasn't had any recorded recent contacts gets passed on. Yeah, because to me, my philosophy has always been, it's not frustrating to have too much to do as much as it's frustrating to not have anything you can do about it. So that's a great way of saying, hey, you could be calling this guy, hey, you could be calling this guy, not sit around talking about how you have no good prospects, right? Right about here in today's presentation, I think it's time for Stopel to make a holiday gift to our loyal water cooler chat fans. So if you are on this chat, just type your name into the chat, not your email address. Don't give it away to everybody. And I will send you a coupon for 10% off one of our online courses. How does that sound? Ruthie and I are developing a course for in-person in Massachusetts in March. We haven't started advertising it yet, but go ahead and hers is going to be 2 days of prospect development from start to launch. Mine is going to be 2 days of beginner analytics from what is R to I can do a major gifts model. So while you're thinking about whether you want that 10% discount, just go ahead and put your name in the chat and I will pick up those names. We already have your email addresses and we'll send you a 10%, a coupon for 10% off our online courses. Thank you. Brandy, if you don't mind backing me up on catching these names, I would love it. I think that the chat gets saved.
Along the lines of like sort of back to topic of doing phone calls at the end of the year.
Yeah.
One shop I worked in, there was a relatively new gift officer who had been given so at that particular shop, when a gift officer left, all the other gift officers sort of like sharks to chum, grabbed whoever was really good if left in that portfolio that was not yet being attended to, and then dumped.
Well, the rest of you were going in their office and taking their share.
Yeah, so they'd swap their sort of less easy to access prospects for like the low-hanging fruit from someone else's portfolio that had been abandoned. And so this new person comes in and they get sort of the hardest portfolio, like the most challenging people who are fairly unresponsive. And this one person, and I've never seen anyone else do this in 20 years. He was amazing. He had this great, like soothing sort of voice, like a jazz radio DJ, right? Like just soothing and calming, like you'd have on like a slow jazz radio station. And he called everyone and called everyone. And this is before texting was an option. Text wasn't a thing then. Called everyone. And he literally was getting tons of gifts from folks that everyone else had given up on because he called them. And he was persistent, left these lovely, sweet messages in his fabulous voice, and just, persistence. And he was getting all these great year-end gifts, and they're like, "How did you do that?" He's like, "Well, I called them." And it was just brilliant. Like, he didn't call them every single day. Like, he had a whole mapped out process of how he was going to call them. And this was his own doing. So he mapped out how often to call them, when to call them, what time of day, based on what time zone they might live in. And yeah, the people who answered, he kept them on the phone. And he wasn't necessarily telling them, let's talk about my organization. He was saying, how's the weather out there? Oh, what are you doing for the holidays? Oh, that's great. And, just talking to them about them, and then sort of bringing it back, and then letting them talk about them, and then bringing it back, then talking. So it was brilliant. But that, like, I don't know how you teach that. And I don't know how you package that up, but there are people out there who, if you put them on the phone, it's like a weapon in a good way. Yeah.
I'm reading the book Liar's Poker, and it's about, growing up in Solomon Brothers in the 80s, and they got it hammered into them how to just get on the phone, keep getting on the phone, keep getting on the phone. Of course, their methods were the opposite of what you just described, right? They were predatory, but yeah, a young gift officer could sit next to that gift officer and just listen to his side of the conversation. Because people don't know what to do or what to say, right? The first time I was a gift officer who taught me, the first time I do something, I'm going to make a mistake. And I did. But, now if I know how to ask somebody for a gift and how to listen to what they have to say about it. Yeah. So Kelly notes, we're one of the universities that closes. Our gift processing is on site, but all the gift officers have appropriate out-of-office messages on email and their cell phone numbers. Oh, so if I call the gift officer, does it go to gift processing? How does that work?
No, they'll have, they'll say I'm out of the office, but they'll give it, like on their email, they'll have their cell phone number that you can call me directly on my cell phone. But we, at the main office, we do have somebody on staff all the time who will answer the phones. So in case they don't want to talk to a specific person, they just want to
leave a gift.
Yeah.
So if I call my gift officer at your shop, I'm going to get an out-of-office voicemail, but I'm not going to think to call.
No, you should be able to reach them.
Okay.
Someone, yes, they may put on there that, our office is closed, but you can still reach me. If I don't answer the phone, I'll, get back with you.
The people, I'd like to tell an allegory and then explain why I'm telling it. And one of them is the New York City Starbucks versus any other Starbucks. So New York City Starbucks, it's a contest to see how complicated I can make my drink order. I sat there and I counted 6 different requirements for somebody's drink order. That was the max that I've counted so far. Like, I'd like a cup of coffee. Like, I'd like a latte with half foam, 2 shots of vanilla, put the ice in it and then take it out. I mean, it was wild, the stuff it was a contest. And so the reason I'm reminded of this allegory while you're explaining this, Kelly, is that I can just picture myself being a crotchety old lady who calls on December 30th going, I want to make a gift of stock and I want to found a gift, annuity, and I want you to take care of that today. And of course your lawyers are open, right? So, but I'm glad that you have somebody on call. I think that's great. Susan also has a gift officer who's on call. Is it the gift officer with the least amount of seniority who's stuck with it, Susan, or?
No, it's not. Someone usually volunteers, is my understanding.
Nice.
Yeah, last year it was the newest guy. Maybe he was trying to make a good impression, but this year it's someone who's been around a very, very long time.
This is one of those situations where people who do not celebrate Christmas can get big points. If I were Jewish, I would say, look, I will work Christmas Day and take your phone calls if you let me take Rosh Hashanah off without having to use a vacation day. Or Yom Kippur, or both of them. Great. See you later, Cindy. Well, that's what we have for content today. I mean, last minute, whatever. What we're going to cover in January I made this as a joke when I was talking to the marketing team in August, but I've decided it's a pretty good topic. What we're going to cover in January is things to do while your gift officers are in Florida. Because in January and February, all of a sudden, everybody has to go to Florida to solicit prospects. And of course, the rest of us are mad as hornets that these people get to go to Florida in January, except me. I would get sick. Of course, I already get sick this year anyway, sitting up here in the snow. So I'm just going to keep prattling on. So we're going to talk about different things when you have the headspace to do things, right? So for us researchers, it really is January. We don't have all that pressure on us. And feel free to tell me, no, I don't know what I'm talking about. But we're going to talk about tools that you can set up, or tools that take time to set up, so that for the rest of the year, it's easier on you. And I'll give you a hint. My first thing is I clean off my desk. Just before I go away on my December holiday, I clean off my desk in my office. And we'll hang out if you want me to. And thank you. Thank you, Brandy, for putting up that sign up link. Tell all your friends. You guys were here, so you get that 10% holiday discount. Don't tell your friends that I'll give one every month, but we wanted to do one just to celebrate a couple of years now of water cooler chats, right? It started when COVID started. Yeah. 2 years, right? I'm sorry, Greg, can you repeat that closer to your mic?
Yeah, this will be 3 years in March now.
3 years in March?
Yeah, it started in March 2020.
Ruthie is the only person I know who's ever said, I was happy to isolate when COVID showed up. So,
No, I think all of us researchers are introverts to some part. So I think there were more of us. Yeah.
I'll see Kelly's with me in the chat.
Kelly's with you on that. I got a big old rambling farmhouse, so I was a lot better off than a lot of people, I'll tell you. So, but we get to go out again and get sick again. Joining from Tokyo. Oh, you go. Can you write us an email and tell us, like, what are some of the things that you do different? I would love to hear more about that.
Well, in Japan, the philanthropic activities is quite different laws, different customs, different cultures. So I really don't know why I joined this seminar, but I had the link, so I joined it, and I didn't really expect this such a small, very intimate the seminar, but very, very informative. It's very interesting. Everything sounds very new to me, but yeah.
Yes. So remember that Americans, we are individualists and we love to show off. And Eastern cultures, I can say that, right? Eastern cultures tend to be much more private, but also, I don't know if it's true for Japan, but I know in India, you're not going to talk to me about anything until you've been introduced to me by a member of my family.
Wow.
And so the cultivation timeline is much longer. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit, maybe culturally we are a little bit reserved, but well, nowadays, I think a young generation particularly, they are very open-minded. So, but I mean, as far as fundraising is concerned, because I think a culture and historically, especially because America, you have a long history of a non-profit sector.
Philanthropy.
Yeah, philanthropy. So this is relatively new. I mean, I don't mean that Japanese people will not help. We help each other in different. That's what I mean. So we have to fit into the system. So the system is still, the kind of, it's not settled yet, and people's mind they're not used to it.
It's a new idea. Yeah, I hear that.
So, that's what I mean. So we really, I really love, learning from you. You have a long history, and then you have a system, and then you are pioneering. So that,
Well,
thank you very much for.
People actually pay us to sit around and play with things and make stuff up. And so when we come up with something good, it benefits our clients. So thank you.
Because in Japan, even the fundraisers, people don't know what we are doing, what the fundraisers are doing.
Right.
And then the
want?
search fund, search
Yeah.
fund there's only 200 to 300 fundraisers yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So your
maybe you come
conference
to
can be a
Japan,
very
you
nice
get a lot
hotel.
of job, maybe a lot of work.
Yeah. I have to share a story if you don't mind. My MBA is from Southern New Hampshire University. It's a very international university. There were a lot of students from Japan and Okinawa and Malaysia and even from China when I was there studying. So the first thing that happened is that when we ever had a group project, everybody who had English not as their native language would approach me and say, "You're going to be the speaker and we're going to be in your team." So they would do the Microsoft Excel stuff and I would do the speaking. But the second that they had what they called international night, where they brought their own culture, dances, their food, and they did performances for us. And one of the things that they made fun of every year was, I could still see it on stage. The Japanese student walks up and the American host walks up and the Japanese student bows, and the American host walks right up and grabs her and gives her a big hug. So yeah, I feel the difference just from that scenario. Yeah. The kind of trust you have to build first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that makes things more interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm. And meaningful.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. A no to you is a thought out no. Right? They thought about it for a while before they said no. In America, I just say no to just about everything because I'm constantly being asked.
Yeah, no means, we try not to say yes very lightly because yes means it's promise. So unless you're very sure.
Yes.
If you're confident to keep that promise, then you can say yes. But if not, not yes. That's a bit sensitive.
I hear that. Yep. Someone from India told me that in the way she was raised is that you say yes to everything and then you just don't show up. The yes is much more expected than the actual showing up. So her friends would say, "Why didn't you come to the party? You said you were coming." She goes, "Oh, well, no, you're supposed to get that it was," and then she had to learn that in America, you say, "Yes, I'm coming," you're coming. Unless you write a note that says, "I'm sorry, I'm ill," or whatever. Yeah.
I think that's yes. I think it's a different, regions, countries have very different customs for this particular, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't speak for all of India because I've never been.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know how different solicitation or ask or these things we have to do it according to our we have to understand them first. So it takes probably takes more time to talk before we ask. We have to know them very well.
Yes, there are men in my local grocery store who are visiting professors from lots of different places, and some of them are really offended that I'm looking them in the eyes. Yeah, that's an extreme example of what I just heard you say. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's still a lot to learn from you. So
Right. We just talk about identifying. We don't have to do the hard part of approaching people or, talking to them or listening to what they're saying or, you know what I mean? Everything we do is from behind the scenes. We can look at a distance and that enables us to see more with more time and more. We don't have to be on our feet.
You see.
Except but when we're doing these.
I admire, I think you have a lot of different types of software or, the IT support.
Yes.
Yeah. The Japanese products, the number of products is very limited. So with even the huge universities still use Excel to do the, the donor
the database.
Management. Yeah, so that's really
goodness.
Yeah, we have to do something with that. But I spoke to some a Blackboard, the people.
Blackboard,
they say that Japan is that as the market is too, it's too small to launch the new products. They say.
Wow.
Yeah, that translation. Language-wise, they can use 100 over languages, but training and manual, they have to do everything in Japanese. We don't speak English there, so that
That's
they don't
good.
bother doing that. So, but I think this is a niche market. I said, but they don't.
Mhm.
They are not interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have to invent our own.
Yeah. Wow, my brain is starting to work already. I'll bet you Greg's is too.
Sorry.
His face is turning
Yeah,
red.
sorry. Yeah,
No, we have ideas.
sorry about my voice. It's very rough because now they're nearly 3 o'clock in the morning.
I was wondering about that. So yes. So you got
Yeah.
your work hours in before anybody else got up.
No, I just keep awake. Yeah, it's early in the morning, so it's okay. I skip tonight. Sleep.
I shouldn't complain then that my business day usually starts around 6 in the morning because I'm on the west of the United States and most of my clients are on the east. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but I'd love to hear what you're doing with technology in say are your donors more likely to respond to?
yeah, we have actually the Salesforce, they launched a Japanese product here. I think that there's only one big player so far in the Japanese market, and then we have a small companies doing donor taking care of a donors database, but not integrated. I said we can do some database and the credit card system, so that we have to combine sometimes. And then maybe if you are small NPO, that would work. But if you are working for maybe the huge, the big universities or the research institute, database may not be big enough. The function is not enough, so you have to tailor-made that. You have to pay extra. Actually, it's very costly. So that's the we are constantly looking for the better product. But when you transfer the data from this to the new one, also it takes some time, and you have to train your staff again. Means it's not very effective. But I think
Greg
it's
helps a lot of
now
clients do that. Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, we have to go through this process anyway. So.
Yeah, I'm having a client right now, and now it's Tuesday, isn't it? I was helping a client in London with that process, and any database migration is difficult. Yeah, especially when, as you say, the software isn't necessarily designed for like Salesforce. It's kind of like an overlay of what's on a database. What's on a fundraising database. So, yeah.
I see. Yeah. So but anyway, I keep looking for, and so someday.
Yeah. Some of the I'm gonna look. We have your email address. I'm gonna look.
Sure.
Yeah. I may end up just writing you and telling you to try Microsoft Access, because Microsoft can do Japan, was smart enough to be multi.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And I have worked with fundraising organizations here and in Canada that have used Microsoft Access and used it quite efficiently.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that's our time. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, Yuko. You really enhanced the.
Thank you. So exciting.
I hope you go back to sleep soon, though.
Oh yeah, I try to get some sleep. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Well, everybody, have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll get those coupons out.